to the United States now, where President Donald Trump is talking about his favorite word again today. That, of course, would be tariffs.
What we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff.
Came out and he said, tariffs on every car that gets imported into the U.S. from around the world. And he talked about chips, and he talked about wood.
Tesla, the electric vehicle maker owned by Elon Musk, is warning the U.S. government that American exporters could be harmed.
I really don't want cars from Canada. So when I put tariffs on Canada, they're paying 25%, but that could go up in terms of cost.
Diplomatic tensions between Canada and the United States have once again flared up following former President Donald Trump's provocative statement that Canada cannot survive without the United States. This comment, coupled with sharp rhetoric from both sides, has fanned the flames of a potential trade war. Mutual threats, particularly surrounding automobile tariffs and Canada's intent to retaliate in kind, are beginning to shake the foundations of what has long been a stable and cooperative North American economic relationship. Rumors are circulating that Canada may impose tariffs exceeding 25% on U.S. automobiles, a move that has alarmed several companies, especially those in Detroit. Once a shining example of smooth cross-border trade, the automotive sector is now at the heart of political brinkmanship. In response to tariffs already imposed or threatened by the Trump administration on Canadian vehicles, Ottawa is seriously considering a reciprocal or even harsher measure. We will respond forcefully. Nothing is off the table. Our response is to fight, protect, and build.
We will respond forcefully. Nothing is off the table to defend our workers and our country. And our response to these latest tariffs is to fight, is to protect, and to build.
Canadian officials have declared Canada's role as a key player in the energy market further amplifies its leverage. Talks of increasing taxes or restricting exports of electricity, oil, and liquefied natural gas, LNG, are gaining momentum. Analysts estimate that if Canada follows through with a 25% or higher tariff on American vehicles, the cost to U.S. exporters could exceed $2.50 to $3 billion annually, possibly even $5 billion if the dispute deepens and consumer demand declines. In 2024 alone, Canada purchased over 2 million new cars, about one-third of which were manufactured in the U.S. and imported. Should a tariff be introduced, the price of American-made vehicles in Canada could rise by $4,000 to $7,000, particularly in the mid-range sedan and SUV segments. This would likely push consumers toward Canadian-assembled or Asian-manufactured alternatives. Economists warn that such a shift could lead to a loss of over 100,000 U.S.-made vehicle sales, unsettling market shares of major automakers. Iconic American pickups like the Ford F-150 and Chevy Silverado, extremely popular in Canada, would be the hardest hit. Likewise, electric vehicles, such as the Tesla Model 3 and Model Y, could struggle to maintain competitiveness. General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, all which generate a significant portion of their North American revenue from Canada, stand to suffer steep losses. A 5 to 10% drop in their stock prices is expected if tariffs are enacted. If tensions persist, this decline could reach 15 to 20%. Though Tesla's footprint in Canada is relatively smaller, its growth ambitions may be disrupted by sudden cost hikes. Long-term impacts on Tesla's share value are anticipated, particularly if Canada's response includes regulatory or standardization hurdles alongside tariffs. The intricate automotive supply chain, where parts crisscross the U.S.-Canada border during production, is also at risk. A single layer of added tax or bureaucracy could render this finely tuned process inefficient and costly. But Canada's retaliation plan does not end with autos. The country's vast energy resources, particularly from provinces like Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, and Quebec, are integral to U.S. infrastructure. Electricity grids are interconnected, and many northern U.S. states rely partially on Canadian power. Ottawa, while historically cautious, is now openly considering tariff hikes or licensing fees on energy exports. Though cutting power supply entirely is complex, economic consequences from even partial restrictions would be severe. In 2024, Canada sold over $4 billion worth of electricity to the U.S., alongside major volumes of oil and LNG. Certain American refineries depend on Canadian heavy oil. If this flow is disrupted, it could lead to localized shortages and soaring prices, Despite the U.S.'s self-sufficiency claims, Trump's belief in protectionism, framed by his America First mantra, has fueled these tensions. However, this stance undermines the spirit of NAFTA and its successor, the USMCA, which rely on mutual cooperation and deeply interwoven supply chains. In practice, an engine might be made in Ontario, the chassis in Michigan, and the final assembly completed back in Canada. Disrupting this harmony serves neither side. Canada, meanwhile, seeks to protect both its economy and dignity. "We will respond in kind" has become the rallying cry from Ottawa. A 25% tariff on U.S. cars will be immediately reflected in falling stock prices. Ford, GM, and Tesla shares could dip 5 to 8% at first, and more of investor confidence wavers. With roughly 300,000 to 400,000 American vehicles sold annually in Canada, the stakes are high. Shifting those sales elsewhere is not a simple task. While diplomatic engagement from the Biden administration might offer a path forward, the unpredictability of Trump's stance complicates matters. If Canada proceeds with its retaliatory tariffs, American automakers could see revenue losses between $500 and $700 million within just 1 to 2 years. Tesla, particularly vulnerable due to its expansion plans, could experience a 3 to 4 point drop in share value. Regulatory and logistical hurdles could amplify these effects. Energy remains Canada's most formidable card. Suspending or taxing the flow of oil, electricity, and LNG to the U.S. would have immediate economic consequences. Provinces like Manitoba and Quebec supply power to millions of Americans through cross-border agreements, which, though legally binding, could be overridden in a crisis. Such a drastic move would likely be challenged in U.S. courts, but would still leave deep scars on bilateral relations. Cutting energy ties could disrupt operations in several U.S. industries, spark regional blackouts, and add billions in market volatility. Despite shared history and economic integration, the two nations are now navigating a dangerous standoff, one where each side calculates not how to reconcile, but how to hurt the other most effectively. In this unfolding trade drama, there are no victors, only casualties: automakers, energy firms, and everyday consumers. Unless a diplomatic compromise is reached soon, Canada's tariffs and energy measures may dramatically redefine its once steadfast relationship with the United States, casting a long shadow over decades of mutual trust and cooperation.